If you were born before 1960, something on your old age security payment is about to shift, and most people never see it coming until the deposit hits their account and the number looks different than they expected. Old Age Security, or OAS, is the monthly government pension paid to almost every Canadian aged 65 and older. It is not the same as CPP, the Canada Pension Plan, which is the other pension most of you also receive. OAS and CPP are two separate programs calculated differently, and they change at different points in your life. Today, I want to walk you through exactly what happens to your OAS as you cross 65, what happens automatically at 75, and the one income number that can quietly take some of it back a full year after you've already spent the money. By the end of this video, you will know exactly what to check on your own account this week, and you won't have to wonder whether you're leaving money on the table. Let me start with who I am briefly, so you know why you can trust what follows. I spent my career as a financial advisor here in Canada, working mostly with retirees and people approaching retirement. I am no longer practicing, but the rules I'm about to walk you through are the same rules I explained to clients across a kitchen table for years. Nothing here is a sales pitch. There is nothing to buy. I simply want you to understand your own pension the way I would have explained it to my own mother. Let's start with the number that changes automatically and needs nothing from you. When you turn 75, your OAS payment increases by 10%. Permanently. This isn't a one-time bonus. It becomes your new baseline for the rest of your life, and it happens whether or not you do anything at all. In 2026, the maximum OAS payment for someone aged 65 to 74 is roughly $742 a month, adjusted every 3 months to track inflation through an index called the Consumer Price Index, which simply measures how much everyday costs are rising. Once you turn 75, that same maximum climbs to roughly $816 a month. Nobody calls you to tell you this happened. Service Canada, the federal department that administers your pension, simply applies it in the background. Here's the retention hook worth pausing on. Because it's automatic, it's also invisible, and invisible increases are exactly the kind seniors forget to double check. If you or a parent recently turned 75, the smart move this week is to log into your My Service Canada account, the secure online portal where you can see your actual payment amounts and confirm the higher number is really showing up. Supposed to happen and actually happened are two different things when government systems are involved. Now let's talk about the age where most of the confusion starts, which is 65 itself. This is when OAS and for lower income seniors, the Guaranteed Income Supplement, or GIS, both typically begin. GIS is a separate tax-free top-up paid on top of OAS to seniors with little or no other income. Here's what catches people off guard. Some Canadians are automatically enrolled for OAS and receive a letter around age 64 confirming it. Others are not automatically enrolled and have to apply themselves. If that letter never shows up and you never apply, your pension simply doesn't start, and every month you wait without applying is a month of payment you can't easily get back. Let me introduce you to someone I'll call Harold, a composite of the kind of client I saw many times over the years. Harold, 66, spent 34 years driving delivery trucks out of a depot near Kitchener, Ontario. He assumed OAS would just show up the way his old workplace pension did. It didn't. Nobody had sent him the automatic enrollment letter, and he didn't find out until a neighbor mentioned checking his account. He had gone nearly 8 months without applying. The fix was simple once he understood it, but those 8 months were gone. So if you are approaching 65 or you know someone who is, the move is straightforward. Check your My Service Canada account in the months before your birthday, and if no automatic enrollment letter has arrived, apply yourself rather than waiting. There's a second piece tied to this same age range that trips up even careful people, and it involves the Guaranteed Income Supplement I just mentioned. GIS is recalculated every single year based on your income tax return. If you miss filing your taxes, even in a year with very little income, your GIS can simply stop, not because your income changed, but because the Canada Revenue Agency, or CRA, the federal tax authority, never received the return it needed to recalculate your benefit. I think of a woman I'll call Denise, a retired school administrative assistant from Red Deer, Alberta, living mostly on OAS and GIS after her husband passed. One year, grieving and overwhelmed, she simply didn't get her taxes filed on time. Her GIS stopped a few months later. Her income hadn't gone up, the form just hadn't arrived. Once she filed, even late, her GIS was restored along with some retroactive back pay. The lesson here matters more than almost anything else in this video. Filing your tax return every year, on time, even if you owe nothing and earned almost nothing, is what keeps your GIS switched on. Now here is the choice that carries more weight than any of the ones we've covered so far, because unlike the automatic increase at 75, this one is entirely up to you. You're not required to start OAS the moment you turn 65. You can choose to delay it month by month all the way to age 70. For every month you wait, your OAS grows by 0.6%. Wait the full 5 years, and your pension is 36% larger than it would have been at 65 permanently for the rest of your life. On that roughly $742 maximum, deferring to 70 pushes the monthly amount to somewhere around $1,009, and it stays indexed to inflation from there. That sounds like an easy decision until you consider who it's wrong for. If your income is low enough that you'd qualify for GIS at 65, delaying OAS can mean giving up GIS payments during those years, money you can never recover, all to chase a bigger check later. And if your health isn't strong, waiting for a larger payment you might not live long enough to fully benefit from is a real consideration, not something to brush aside. Generally speaking, deferral only pays off if you expect to live well into your 80s. Your own health history and family longevity matter here more than any spreadsheet. CPP, the Canada Pension Plan, works on a similar principle but with its own numbers, and it's worth understanding both together since most of you receive both. The maximum CPP retirement pension at 65 in 2026 is $1,507.65 a month, though the average new recipient actually receives closer to $925 a month because very few people contributed the maximum for the nearly 39 years required to hit that ceiling. Just like OAS, you can start CPP as early as 60, with a permanent reduction of 0.6% for every month before 65, up to 36% less if you start at exactly 60. Or you can delay CPP past 65, gaining 0.7% for every month you wait, up to 42% more at age 70. The decision to delay CPP or OAS or both isn't something to default into. It deserves a deliberate look at your health, your other income, and whether GIS is part of your picture. Now for the one threshold that takes money away instead of adding it, and it's the one I most want you to understand clearly because it's the one that catches careful, organized people completely off guard. It's officially called the OAS recovery tax, though most people just call it the clawback. Once your net income for the year, meaning your income after deductions, as reported on your tax return, climbs above $95,323 in 2026, the government begins reducing your OAS by 15 cents for every dollar over that line. Here's the part that turns it into a genuine trap. It doesn't show up on your OAS statement in the year it happens. It's calculated quietly through your tax return, and it typically reduces your OAS payments a full year later, after the money that pushed you over the line is already spent. Picture someone I'll call Gordon, 68, retired from a manufacturing plant near Hamilton, Ontario, who pulled $45,000 out of his Registered Retirement Income Fund, or RRIF, a government-regulated account that holds money converted from an RRSP in retirement, all in one calendar year to cover a furnace replacement and some overdue home repairs. His usual income sat comfortably below the threshold, but that single withdrawal pushed him over $95,323 for that 1 year. 12 months later, his OAS checks started shrinking, and he had no idea why until he looked closely at his notice of assessment. Had Gordon simply split that withdrawal, taking half in December and half in January, spreading it across 2 tax years, he likely would have stayed under the line both years and kept his OAS intact. That's really the whole game with the clawback. It isn't about earning less overall. It's about not letting your income spike over that line in any single calendar year. If you're anywhere near that threshold, look at pension income splitting with your spouse, a rule that lets you shift certain pension income onto a lower income spouse's return, and consider spreading any large withdrawal across 2 tax years rather than taking it all at once. Let's bring this together. If there is one single thing to remember from everything we've covered, it's this. The 2 biggest opportunities are the automatic 10% raise waiting for you at 75, which needs nothing from you but deserves a quick double check, and the $95,323 clawback threshold, which needs your attention before a big withdrawal, not after. Everything else, whether to defer, whether GIS is part of your picture, whether your tax return is filed on time, all supports keeping you on the right side of those 2 lines. This week, the simplest thing you can do is log into your My Service Canada account and look at exactly what you're being paid, confirm your most recent tax return has been filed, and if you're near a big financial decision, check where that $95,323 line sits before you make a move, not a year later when the check has already shrunk. This is general education, not personalized financial advice. I don't know your income, your health, or your specific situation, and these figures are indexed and adjusted regularly, so always confirm your own numbers with Service Canada or a qualified advisor before making a decision. If this cleared something up for you, consider subscribing, because next video, I'm going to walk through exactly how the Guaranteed Income Supplement is calculated and the most common reasons seniors lose it without realizing why. Take care of yourself and keep that tax return filed.